You are likely watching this video on a smartphone or a computer. It feels completely disconnected from the dirt and rocks beneath our feet. But to make the exact device you are holding right now function, someone had to dig a massive hole in the ground years before it ever hit a store shelf. That hole was dug to extract copper. If electricity is the blood of civilization, copper is the veins carrying it everywhere. Every time you plug something in, charge a battery, or turn on a light, the power travels along tightly wound spools of copper wire, just like these. For over a century, humanity has relied on this hidden network to build the modern world. Because it was always relatively easy to find and mine, we never really had to worry about running out. It stayed completely invisible to the average person. But our relationship with energy is shifting. Governments and corporations are actively working to stop burning coal, oil, and gas. The goal is to run our entire civilization on electricity. Moving to green energy doesn't eliminate our dependence on the Earth. It simply means we are trading our reliance on liquid fuels for a total, absolute dependence on a solid metal. The first major shock to our global copper supply came from the cars we drive. Over the last decade, automakers began shifting away from traditional gas engines toward electric vehicles powered entirely by batteries and electric motors. This diagram compares the internal materials of those two vehicles. A standard gas-powered car uses about 50 pounds of copper for basic wiring. An electric vehicle scales up to 4 times that amount, packing heavy copper coils into its battery systems and drivetrains. It is essentially a highly complex, heavy-duty computer on wheels. Those cars also need a place to charge. That requires massive expansion of our power grid. We must construct hundreds of thousands of new charging stations, build expansive solar and wind farms, and string up thousands of miles of new transmission lines to connect the new power plants to the places people live. To meet current climate targets, nations are attempting to rebuild a transportation and energy grid that originally took 100 years to build, and do it in a fraction of the time. Every single inch of that newly constructed grid requires copper. Moving toward green energy requires one of the largest physical hardware and construction projects in history. While global markets were focused on securing enough materials for electric cars, an entirely different, unexpected competitor entered the race: artificial intelligence. Electric cars lock a large chunk of metal securely inside the vehicle. AI models live in massive data centers that require an extraordinary amount of copper to distribute electricity to their server racks. To pull that much power from the grid without melting the system, tech companies have to install heavy-duty electrical transformers. These massive machines step down high-voltage power so it can be safely used to compute data. Transformers are packed tight with heavy copper coils. The race for AI dominance has expanded from a competition for software engineers into a fight for raw electrical power. Whoever can acquire the land, the permits, the power grid connections, and the exact amount of copper necessary to tie it all together will ultimately dictate how fast artificial intelligence can grow. You might be wondering, if the world clearly needs all this electricity for cars and computers, why don't mining companies simply dig more holes right now? The answer comes down to bureaucracy and logistics. The mining industry operates on what is often called the 15-year rule. Finding a viable deposit, securing government permits, clearing the earth, and building the necessary roads takes over a decade before a single ounce of usable metal is ever produced. This animated diagram illustrates declining ore grades. 50 years ago, finding high-quality deposits was easy. A single rock yielded a large volume of pure copper, but the best deposits are gone. Today, operations must extract and process 2 rocks to get that exact same volume. That requires double the energy, double the water, and double the heavy machinery. The result is massive, aging operations like this one that are steadily reaching their physical and economic limits. The Earth's geology, combined with the incredibly slow pace of human bureaucracy, has created a hard physical speed limit on how fast our technological progress can actually move. This line chart shows a structural deficit. The demands of artificial intelligence and green energy rocket sharply upward. Meanwhile, the delay to build new mines causes the supply curve to flatten. The gap between these lines is the deficit. When demand outpaces supply, the final refined materials become scarce and expensive. That increases the cost of everyday electronics, delays the construction of renewable energy grids, and creates a massive bottleneck for global economic growth. For the last century, nations fought over access to oil. Entire economies and geopolitical alliances were built around petroleum because it powered the world. But as we begin to electrify everything, this simple metal, copper, becomes the absolute core strategic choke point of the 21st century. We tend to view our modern era through the sleek, clean glass of our digital devices. When the first smartphone was introduced to the world, it triggered a massive acceleration in hidden resource consumption. Our digital progress rests entirely on our physical ability to pull this reddish-orange metal out of the ground.